Hello, and welcome back to A Picky Vegan. I'm Erica, and this is my segment, Daughter Diaries. Today I'm making a matcha drink that is very similar to the Gotcha matcha drink from Jamba Juice. So today we're going to be using, let me move this out of the way. We're going to be using So Delicious dairy-free coconut whipped cream. You can also use the light version, it works just fine. And we're going to be using the same company's organic coconut milk original. And we are using, let's see if I can get in shot here, Sencha Naturals Organic Everyday Matcha. So when you're getting matcha, you want to make sure that it's pretty much just a straight matcha blend. Some matcha blends actually have a bunch of sugar in it, and usually matcha has that flavor because of where it's grown. So supposedly the best tasting matcha is from Japan. And this says it's from Japan, but it's actually, you can buy this at Costco. And it's a little bit cheaper than buying it straight from Japan. If you can support the matcha farms in Japan, you definitely should. But there's definitely some shipping costs involved. I remember the last time I bought matcha, it had about $30 in shipping. So sometimes it's just a little easier to get the stuff that's local to you. But either way, this is really good. It tastes just like the real thing to me anyway. I'm not an expert. But yeah, I use it for quite a few different matcha recipes. So first thing that you're going to want to do is put ice in the glass you're going to use so it can get nice and cold, because this is a cold drink, but we're going to be heating this up because we're going to be adding honey, and I'll explain that in a second. But I'm making this for my mom and I. So we're actually going to double the recipe in this one bowl. Since we're going to be using a bamboo whisk, it's important to have a bowl that has a decent curve to it. It just makes using the whisk easier. Some people use an electric whisk, which is, as far as I can tell, fine. The one thing that's important, regardless of that though, is sifting it. This makes sure that the matcha doesn't clump, that actually start blending properly. So for one person, you would use 2 scoops, but since I'm making it for 2 people, we're going to use 4 scoops. And this is a scoop I actually got from trying some matcha from Japan, from D-Matcha. And this is 2 grams or half a teaspoon. So we're going to be using 4 half a teaspoon scoops. It doesn't have to be exact, at least not the way I like it. For those who haven't tried matcha, it is bitter, to say the least. But the Gotcha matcha drink from Jamba Juice, there we go, is supposed to be sweet. You can change how sweet it is, but the one from Jamba Juice, I believe, not only has whipped cream, but it has agave. Now, we don't have agave, so we're using honey, and to me it tastes just fine, but I'm sure there's a difference. Okay. It was nice. It was actually pretty sweet from Jamba Juice, so I like being able to actually tone it down. I like drinking it quite bitter. My brother, though, who does not like matcha because how bitter it is, he loves this drink because it's just super sweet, depending on how much honey you add. So he just likes tasting the honey part of it, and you can't really taste the matcha if you add a lot of honey. Okay, so it's ground up nice and fine. It should look something like this. And we're going to add 2 cups of the coconut milk. Now, this coconut milk from So Delicious, it's the organic original coconut milk. It's a little bit thicker than regular milk, but it does not, as far as I can tell, have a coconut flavor. My dad and my mom agree that there is not a coconut flavor. It just tastes kind of plain. So technically you probably could use almond milk or something else, but I like how thick it is. It makes the drink nice and creamy. And this is a new one. You gotta make sure you shake it well. And we are going to add one, well, technically 2 cups. And earlier I mentioned you're going to want to put ice in your cups to make sure the cups get cold. Something else I forgot to mention was you're going to want to take out your whipped cream as well to let it thaw and get a little bit soft. It makes it easier to take it out, and then I personally like to kind of whip it up in a sense just to make it really smooth. So from what I know so far from following matcha tutorials is you pour a little bit of your liquid in, and in this case it's going to be kind of a lot, not all of it. And then you just want to make a thick paste of the matcha first. I don't want to, prime example, I don't want to go too fast because it will make the matcha spill everywhere. It's like flour essentially. But you want to make a nice thick paste with it, and then you add the rest of your liquid. So let's just make sure you really mix everything well, and it will stick to the sides. So be gentle with your bamboo whisk, but kind of scrape down the sides and make sure you get it all. And I say gently because I don't think you're supposed to really scrape with this, but you need to get the matcha off the bottom and off the sides. You can see it's just kind of sticking. And then if you used an electric whisk, you won't have this problem probably, having to scrape down everything. But let us know in the comments below if you use an electric whisk and what is your favorite matcha recipe. At the moment, I'm quite loving making matcha ice cream, which I may have to do a video on as well. So far, I'm the only one in my family that likes it, but fine by me. It's more for me. Usually you're supposed to flick your whisk really fast just to make it froth up a little bit. I personally have a hard time making it froth because this milk is really thick. Definitely go watch Matcha's tutorial on making matcha drinks. They have all the techniques as well. And just general knowledge on matcha. I'm just kind of repeating it secondhand. By the way, none of the companies I've mentioned or any of the products I've mentioned are sponsored at all. These are just the products we like to use. Wow, it looks really green on camera. It's still green in person, but it's really saturated on camera. It's much more of a mute green in person. But it's also the kind of matcha you get because there's different kinds of matchas, or matcha powders, I should say. Right, and if you just really want to double check that you've really mixed everything well, you can tilt your bowl a little bit, scrape, and see that, yeah, there's no powder. Turn the bowl. Yeah, pretty good. So now I can add the rest of the liquid. Okay, now at this point, I will be adding another cup of milk because again, it's for 2 people, but it gets pretty high in the bowl and I'm personally not comfortable using the whisk at this point because I know it can be a little delicate sometimes. So I'll probably be switching over to a spoon or something else. But I'm gonna rinse this off really quick. Okay, and we're gonna set this off to the side. We're not gonna use that anymore. And since the milk has been sitting here, I'm just gonna shake it up one more time, even though everything will be mixed again. I don't think I probably showed earlier just how thick this is. I mean, it doesn't look super thick on camera, but I assure you it is a little thicker than regular milk. And just add that. And see, pretty much right to the top. Start doing like a latte art or something. Okay. Now, I try to make not as many dishes as possible when I'm making something. So sometimes this container is a little hard to open. We're gonna set the matcha off to the side. We are gonna stir it before we heat it up, but we're going to go ahead and add our whipped cream. So as you can see, we've already used quite a bit of it. We only use it for matcha so far. You could easily dip fruit in this, or I'm trying to think. Oh, add it to your pound cake or something. But so far, it's just been for matcha. So I'm using a ladle just because it's really easy to scoop everything out, but then also we're going to be using this to transfer the matcha from the bowl to these glass cups. And about a ladle and a half or so. There we go. Yeah, we'll just do a ladle for today because we're running low on whipped cream. There is more, but I didn't thaw that out, so. Now it's pretty goopy, I guess is the word. So personally what I like to do is just take the back of the ladle and just kind of mix it around a little bit and make it a little bit smoother. Now, even though the milk does not have a strong coconut flavor, which is kind of surprising since coconut milk or coconut as a whole is a pretty strong flavor, the whipped cream does have a flavor to it. There actually is a taste. It's not a super strong coconut flavor, but it does taste like whipped cream, and it's really good. Okay, next one. You can see how thick it is right here. So we're just gonna stir it around. And it may not be the prettiest, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for, does it taste good? Is it nice and creamy? And the answer is yes. So those are my goals, at least. Yep. Okay, now that that's done, we'll put this aside. Apparently I've spilled some matcha. I don't know when that happens. It's in the bottom of the cup too, I can see it. Oh well. That's just what happens sometimes. So bring back your matcha and still with the same ladle that has or even the spoon if you were using a spoon, and just stir it. It's fine if the whipped cream mixes. It's going to be mixed anyway later, so it's fine. At least I've not noticed a negative effect from doing this. Okay, and for now I'm just going to set this in the cup. But I don't want to put on the napkin, it's really thin. And we're going to heat this up for about a minute 50. It's quite a bit. We just want to make sure we melt the honey. Some people use agave, and I've seen some recipes. You can find copycat recipes of the Jamba Juice Gotcha Matcha online. Some use powdered sugar, which I didn't. This household we didn't really use sugar or even eat sugary things. So to me, that's just a really weird thing to do. So I'm not doing that. This is why we're using honey. But honey does not mix well, if at all, in something cold. It has to be warm. So that's why I said you want to put your ice in your glasses beforehand. So not only can the cups get cold, but then it can really just, I think it's more effective for cooling the matcha back down. Because it's meant to be a cold drink. It's okay warm. I prefer it cold though. And while it's in the microwave, take this time to clean up the space a little bit. So we're done with the whipped cream, measuring cup, the sifter, and the half teaspoon, and then I'll probably clean up the matcha as well. All right, there we go. Nice and warm. Now, since this is for 2 people, normally I would add almost a full ladle, which I know isn't the best measurement since not everyone has this, but I've never used anything else, so I'm not sure how many teaspoons that is. I would say try 1 teaspoon and taste it. I would add close to a full ladle of honey for 2 people. However, the other day I tried it without any honey and just let the sweetness of the whipped cream take over, which wasn't that sweet. It was actually kind of bitter, but the more I drank it, the more I liked it. So for today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this by half and go ahead and just take mine out, and then I'll add almost half a ladle of honey for my mom. And if you decide to kind of smash down the whipped cream like I did, it actually creates a kind of seal around the ice, and you'll see the matcha sitting up top. It hasn't quite made it down. So you might want to take a straw and just kind of break it up a little bit. Granted, eventually the matcha does just make it through. Now, isn't that a cool effect? There we go. And stir it a little bit. I've probably added maybe too much ice. I usually use these kind of travel cups for this, but I thought, we'll be a little fancy and use actual glass cups. But I might have some left over. We'll see. All right, and then it's still warm enough. So we're gonna take our honey, and like I said, we're just gonna use the ladle. And we're gonna add close to half, really just eyeball it. I've made this drink a couple times, so I kind of know how much is just enough. My brother takes pretty much a full ladle. Like I said, he really likes things sweet. He's not a fan of how bitter it is. And to me, I'm like, what's the point? You drink matcha because it's got a good flavor and it is bitter. So, about there. Which, just eyeballing it again, seems a little bit like 1.5, maybe 2 teaspoons. Really just experiment with it. You can always add a little bit of honey, and then if you need more, just add more, but it's a lot harder to remove the honey if you've added too much. Something I really like too is, since the coconut milk is kind of thick and there's a lot of powder, when you get these really thin strings of honey, it just floats on top. So I just have a little bit of fun. It doesn't stay there, you never see it. It's gonna get mixed up anyway, but it's just fun. And then maybe actually stir it. You can see there's a little bit of honey there, but once you start transferring it over to the other cup, then it eventually makes it all over. Instead of just sitting in the ladle. All right. Now I already went ahead and poked a hole through the ice for this, so there won't be that big release. But still nice to see how it mixes. There we go. And you'll see there's a lot of whipped cream on the sides too, so something I do is I just put the ladle up to it and pour. And it starts pushing it down a little bit. You could just use the straw and scrape it off, but I think this is more effective. At least it's faster. I mean, look at how nice and mixed or kind of swirled it is. You probably could leave it like that. I always personally like to just mix it. And it looks like I actually took too much from, or took too much for myself. So we're just going to grab a little bit. Oh, it's very thick on top. Hang on. I may not be able to. There's a lot of whipped cream on top. Let's see here. I'm actually just grabbing some of the ice by accident, but it's fine. There we go. That's good enough for today. Worst case scenario, I make it again tomorrow, and that's a real possibility. I usually make it at least once a week, and this is definitely the third time this week. So, needless to say, this is a really popular drink between my mom and I. And there you have it. That is the copycat of the Gotcha Matcha from Jamba Juice. And you can determine, how sweet you want to make it, how bitter, whether you want to put whipped cream on top at the end instead of beforehand. And it's really up to you. And I hope you enjoy it. If you've made a drink similar to this or the exact one, then please let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.